Ladies and jelly beans, welcome to another edition of Pro Bro Videos. Just wanted to go over a few new changes, updates, new scripts, yada yada yada. Went to bed around 6 in the morning, so got very little sleep, so bear with me. But we got some cool stuff to share. As always, wow. What caused that? I don't like that. But as always, I never add tools to make your life more difficult or analysis paralysis. Just more tools for you to play with. Um, sometimes I like to switch it up, but the main fundamentals don't change. What I always like to change for some reason is identifying long-term trend. And long-term, quote unquote, for a scalper, for me, I should say, who is a scalper, can be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, etc. A swing trader's long-term trend is weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever. So we don't really look at a huge big picture, but I do look at the 30-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour. I do go up there, but in terms of execution, I rely a lot on the 15-minute and the 1 hour. Those are like my quote-unquote long-term. But that's not to say I'm pulling up the 4-hour chart and drawing trend lines like actually what you see here. That's a 4-hour something or other. Well, you know what? Oh, never mind. I don't know what that was. We'll ignore it for now. All right. So without further ado, first off, we have a new label. I have it on every time frame, and what this label does is what I call the trading traffic light. What this does is there are 12 indicators in this study. It uses all 12. And it's just a label. That's it. There's no lines, studies, yada yada. Just a label. But when 7 of the 12 indicators agree, the label, if they agree bullish, it'll be green. But if even more of them agree, like for instance, 9 of the 12, it'll be cyan or blue, and marked with strong. So in other words, 7 out of 12, yeah, a little over half, that's bullish. But when it's 9 out of 12, we're super bullish. And we can apply that to every time frame. So for instance, the 2-minute, given this spike here, obviously is very strong because that's a big spike for the 2-minute. But you go to the 5-minute, also saying very strong. But for the 15-minute, we're still saying caution light. And caution light occurs when it is less than half. So they're all 12 indicators are kind of all over the place. We're not in agreement. Although look, so now at least 7 of 12 are green on the 15-minute. Again, it's just, don't clutter your charts. I know I use a lot of tools, but I also like to tinker. I also like to figure shit out. Problem solve, that type of stuff. So I just like the challenge, and I throw up everything I make, and then I whittle them down as needed. But I do like the labels; they're cool, and they've kept me on the right side of the trade a few times. Second, everyone knows. Well, any of the long-time lurkers around here know that I love TMO, True Momentum Oscillator. Tracks delta price, super accurate, super reactive. I love it. Now, what I've gone ahead and done is added a second aggregation to the TMO study. So in other words, this super reactive line, that's the chart that you're viewing. So in my case, this is the 2-minute, is this one that you can literally see moving before your eyes. Now this other chunky one that is a lot harder to move, that is the 20-minute, which can be changed here. You can do any time frame you want. Now 20-minute, I know that sounds weird. I never use 20-minute, always 15, always 30. But through back testing and seeing what's most viable, I found that 20-minute works best. Feel free to play with it. You don't have to ask me what my settings are. Pretty much how you get it is more than likely how I have it. But I do play around with it. So I suggest you try out the same. You kind of see what works for you. But what's really cool about this study is this is what'll tell you when a really, really solid move comes. So the old power of 3 time frames that, at least for me, came from a guy named Mobius. Mobius is one of the OG ThinkScript coders. He's a legend. He's got, pretty much everything he says online. People will actually document it and store it on a OneNote because everything he says is pretty much like gospel. And he's a genius with ThinkScript. So anyway, through his thorough testing, he has found that watching your trades through the lens of 3 time frames usually works out to be the best. So that's why we use the 2, 5, and 15. So if the 2, 5, and 15 agree, we got a really, really good chance that shit's about to go down and we can position ourselves on the right side of the trade. Now, the TMO, so what you want to see is a short-term move that agrees with the long-term move. Because if you think about it, your long-term trend is going one way. It's like a train with momentum and inertia and hard to change direction. While the 2-minute is like a canoe where a small little wave can bump it off course. So we kind of want to side with the train. So yeah, we got a nice spike here, which you can see this move here. That was a good move, even though the 20-minute TMO stayed red. That was still a decent move. Perfect little scalp. It happened yet again with this move here. And 20 minutes still ticking down. So it's just funny that, we had a good spike. But when it works in your favor are times when the 2 and 20 agree. Let's take a look here. Where am I? Here we go. So for instance here, which would have been about 10:25 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we got a long single signal out of the 2-minute TMO and 20-minute matched. So that would have been a good chance to go long. Yeah, it was overbought, but that's 20-minute. That's the train. Takes a long time to move, right? And the same goes for bearish, obviously. So check this out. The 2-minute TMO at 11:34 went red, and so was the 20-minute. It was all the way back here. They both agreed. You could have saw that, be like, okay, the long-term trend, 20-minute, is bearish. Now, all of a sudden, this short-term little trend is bearish. So let's jump on it because we know that overall big picture is the one carrying all the momentum. So if we can go in that direction in the short term, it should be a decent move. And decent it was for this case as it just kept going down and down and down. And even these little micro spikes, 20-minute didn't falter. Stayed bearish the entire time. Green spiked up, stayed bearish. And then we just plummeted down to the oversold region. So just another tool for the arsenal. Um, I just I kind of I'm not gonna like throw more rules out there and be like no, you gotta wait for this to line up with this and that. It's just still go by your hull on the 2 and 5 and watch your trend on your 15. If your hull and your 2 and 5 say long, all right, well, what's the trend on the 15-minute? Is it bullish? Then go for it. If it's bearish, take caution. Heed, you know, heed warnings. 15-minute, just switch to caution light. It's choppy as in terms of a 15-minute chart. And now the 2-minute is red. While the 20-minute has been red. So, I mean, it's a classic, could be, lower lows and lower highs. I mean, doesn't look like we're going to take this out, but you never know. But this looks like a good place to start getting ready for puts, even though, um, it's not quite ready, but we can see the pattern, right? We can see that we didn't take out this high. We made a new low. We're creeping up. ADX is dropping, so this trend isn't as strong as it was back here. All of these things together kind of paint that picture for us and tell us with statistics on our side which direction to take the trade. Now, another thing that I changed, I used to do the hull on the 2, 5, and 15. I have since changed that. I still keep the hull up, but now I just have a study that is just the signal. There's no hull line on here. Might look like it, but I'll explain in a minute. But it's just the long or short. Don't worry about the asterisks and the plus sign. That's all for the 2-minute chart. Like here, this is just going to be long or short. But that's just there because, well, you'll see in a second. But so, like I said, wait for your 2 and 5 to match. Is ADX trending? What's TMO look like? And what is the 15-minute trend? Now, I kept going back and forth. How can I find the best way to determine the trend on the 15-minute? A quick way. I just glance at the chart. I know right away what it is. Moving averages. That's what I came up with. That's what's been testing pretty well, especially with this pretty volatile market. And I chose some pretty interesting moving averages that I don't typically use. So I went with the 5, 13, and 21. So in this study, EMA trend, there are 3 lines, 5, and the 21 down here at the bottom. Now, when price is above all 3, we consider that bullish. Price is below all 3, we consider that bearish. So all you have to do is just look at this label. This label is just going by whatever price is doing according to these moving averages. The trend is neutral because we're kind of still toiling around the moving averages. This candle has yet to close. This one looked like it was right on it. So we're neutral. We're not above all 3. So that would probably steer me out. Well, I mean, look at it. It's consolidating. So, it's trading sideways, consolidating, whatever you want to call it. We're right on this middle line in the orb. So this steered us in the right direction so far. And when it went red, we had this big move here. So nice and simple. Nothing to it. I just have I think it's my modified TTM scalper. Yeah, I think the only thing I modified, I think, is I just put alerts on it or something. But That's just support and resistance, easy peasy, nothing too complicated, nothing. And then again with the hull signals, that's just there for kind of if you want it. You can kind of see where it went short. I mean, which this was a good signal too, and so was this. Although you know, pre-market, I don't know if you like it, don't like it. It's tough with SPY. ADX. I like to have pre-market data off. It kind of depends on the pre-market session. I mean, you don't really want to get levels from like low volume moves, but almost always pre-market high and pre-market low are important levels. So it like goes back and forth. It's kind of just a preference. I will say though that most people I encounter like it off, in terms of indicators and that sort of thing. So whatever you think works best for you is the best. You have to determine that. I can't determine it for you. It's how you like to view it. It's how what makes sense to you. What makes sense to me is looking for these um, matching signals in the 2 and 5 and the matching trend on the 15. Now, with that said, I also keep the longer term charts up in a different monitor. I have that same EMA trend on the 30-minute chart, which is bullish because it's above all three. Um, and this again just kind of reiterates what's going on in the trend. What does the bigger picture look like? Um, this really helps as well. Of course, the 4 hour, really the only thing I like to draw from here are support and resistance, trend lines, and that sort of thing. Of course, trend too, but as a scalper, I'm looking for 20 cents a move. The 4 hour chart isn't going to like make or break what I'm looking for in these little micro anomalies that occur in SPY, but it can be very telling. So always monitor the 4 hour. Um, we do have the trade channel, the green, white, and red lines. These are all they keep in mind the 4 hour candle. So you have 4 hour data here. So that's what I mean by not like viewing my 4 hour chart all the time. I have information from the 4 hour. So I do, of course, utilize it. Um, and then these are I mean, look at that. That is just crazy. These are the studies that I like to use on the 4 hour. These trend lines are just all from all these lines, well, except for the moving averages. But, the green lines, the red lines, and these dotted gray lines are all from one study, Wolf Waves. I like to set it to 21. That's just the look back period. And the rest are just moving averages. That's it. And if you want to get your trend lines, here's a 4 hour trend line. Well, it's on the 4 hour chart. I want that to show up on my 2 minute chart. So just make sure you're on the same drawing set. So I'll go to default and I'll pretend I haven't already done this. And you get out your trend line tool. I'm on the 4 hour chart. Make sure I take note of my drawing set and I just trace it. Trace-a-roo. Trace this bottom one too. Why not? I'll usually put it on like that and then I'll kind of like zoom in, and almost always I'm a little off. I'll kind of zhuzh it, make it a little bit more accurate. But it's always just a range. You never have to be down to the penny, especially from a 4-hour chart. So we put that on our default drawing set. I have a bunch, but just for testing sake, now let's see what it looks like on the 2-minute chart. So that would be this purple line. And, you can see, I mean, obviously we played off of it. Here's pre-market. We hit it as resistance. We kind of played around with it here. That can be considered a test, most likely. That's a test of it. That broke it. Come down. Will more than likely test it again by the looks of it. And now look at this. Our TMOs are lined up. The 2 and the 20 are both red. So you can get a nice move here and maybe a lower low down to this, say, green line, 651.89. Maybe we'll hit that. That would be my PT on this. And ADX is starting to climb up, meaning that this little downturn is starting to gain a little momentum here. Below 20, sure, but it's going up, which that's a good sign. If you wanted to get short. PVT is also showing red. Red light very strong, so at least 9 out of 12 indicators agree. We got caution light on 5 and 15, so still some mixed signals going with all those indicators, but you go by your instincts too. I mean, this is heavy support. This is big support here, so we'll kind of see what happens. But I wouldn't be surprised if we make a new low and we test this 651.89. But let the charts talk to you. Now I'm just kind of watching. For the 2-minute chart, nothing's changed except for these. I added some context to the labels. That's only going to be on the 2-minute. The asterisk and plus, or just the asterisk. That just means on the higher time frames, yet again, the 5 and 15 is you got an asterisk or the plus. One of them is ADX is trending, and one of them is DMI is trending. So if you have both, like this short signal here, that means that the DMI and ADX were in favor of this short signal. When it's just a long signal, technically you don't have ADX or DMI on your side. I mean, they could have just been neutral. They weren't like prevailing in one way or the other. That's all. And I like to paint. I paint my bars, my candles per PVT. Now, just by double clicking on PVT, paint candles, yes. Just make sure that your hull is set to no. If it's set to yes, all that'll happen is a little exclamation point up here saying that, 2 studies are trying to paint the same damn thing. So don't do that. That's what it's saying. That's not me talking. That's the system talking, not me talking. I'll switch that to no. Another other little trick I wanted to show is that the candles. I have set my 15-minute to use Heiken Ashi. Some of you are probably familiar with it. Some of you may not, but it's just a different type of chart. There's candle trend, Heiken Ashi. Heiken Ashi is just if it's green, it's trending up. And if it's red, it's trending down. As opposed to traditional candles that just rely on the buying and selling, these are just built differently. And everyone will tell you this is the easiest way for someone to identify trend. Heiken Ashi is very good for beginners, but it just paints a clear picture. I don't like to use Heikin Ashi on all my candles because I do, rely on the candle anatomy, if you will, with dojis and hammers and spinning tops and all that type of stuff. That doesn't technically come with Heikin Ashi, but um, so yeah, I mean today that it's shit because it's just kind of back and forth. But like, look at this. If you were to go long, if you were to get long signals on your 2 and 5, and you see your Heikin Ashi is just spitting green chiclets left and right, well, that can really help you. And sorry, I'm just kind of watching the price here. So it did kind of do what we said, what I thought. Um, but this is powerful, man. I do like this a lot. DMI is nice and DI is nice and spread. Let's see if we get down to that 651.89. That would be my guess. Um, oh, last but not least. So yeah, just if you like Heikin Ashi, change it. If not, I'll show you. This is what I'll do. I'll show you what it looks like without it. That's what traditional candles look like. Game changer? Eh, up for you to decide. Just kind of like a cleaner chart type. That's all. A lot of people love them. See, it just kind of cleans it up a bit. Kind of get a clearer image. Um, so the other last study I will show you is, again, this is more of a long-term chart. Kind of just use it however you see fit. Let's see, show label, yeah. So this is called a Z-score probability heat map. What this is that's the Z-score line right here. Goes by the slope. Also presents you with buy and sell signals. This is on a 4-hour chart, so just keep that in mind. And what it's showing you is where the average price, currently resides. So right now, where we are, we're at a Z-score of 1.9. That means over 180 days, 94.3% of SPY's price action occurred less than what we are. So it's in tiers. There's 98%, 85%, 50%, 16, 2.28, 0.13. So this kind of shows you a overbought versus oversold. If we hit this 656.65, that would mean 99.9% SPY's price action was below this. So we're all-time highs. So obviously everything's going to be below it. But what's really good to know is when it's at that 50% mark or encroaching on this 85% mark, because this tells you that you're getting a good deal on a swing trade, or it's, and you can put it to any time frame you want and it'll still work the same. Now it'll depend on how many days you have on your look back, because it's going to just use that many days, excuse me. Let's set it to 90. This is a pretty complex script. So, I mean, yeah, you hit the red, you bounce up. You hit the red up top, you bounce down. And that's just overbought, oversold. We switched to that 5-minute chart over 15 days and look, drastically different results. And that's all part of trading. It's like you kind of have to take all that information and come up with a plan. So if the 4-hour chart, we are pretty overbought, we're very overbought. Meanwhile, on the 5-minute chart, we're pretty oversold. So, in the immediate term, you can expect a bounce. But overall, be wary because we are very overbought on the long term. So maybe the next big bull run, the next big bull trend might run out of gas quickly because we're so overextended. That's kind of what you would take away from it. Um, but on a 5-minute scale, we're getting pretty low. Not much price has gone below this over 15 days. Again, that's not that long. Um, so play with it, like it, great. Don't like it, still great. I guess that's cool. That's cool, man. I won't care. No, I'll care a little bit. Just won't tell anybody. Last but not least, God, I swear that I always say I'm gonna do like, oh, this is gonna be 15 minutes. So this trade worked out pretty nice. Look at that, 80x 27 now. Oh, this was a similar idea to the labels. Maybe you'll like it better. I think I I always just keep it up. I have so many goddamn monitors. I just keep it up anyway. This is the same theory as the labels. This is where'd all my labels go? So this is the same theory as the labels, just different studies and different amount. There's 8 of them. So, Bollinger Band, MACD, RSI, Stochastic, CCI, and it plots them in a dashboard style. So green means go, red means stop. So it's just telling you what all these indicators are saying in regards to the price. So all 8 indicators are agreeing that this is bearish as shit. And that is even indicated by these purple or pink triangles here. So when there's continuity across all 8, you'll get pink triangles for bearish, you'll get blue triangles for bullish. They all agreed starting here, 1306, and they stopped all agreeing at 1318 because as you can see, CCI and Stochastic went bearish, even though the rest were green. So, this is a lower study, as you can see. It's on the this lower tier. So all I've done is just go to style settings. I think general. Yeah, show price subgraph. If you okay, I'll check it, and if I check it, now I have this what you normally see. This your candles. But if you just want this lower study, kind of like I do with this TMO, just turn that shit off. You just show price subgraph. Nah, just give me the lower study. Just give me the action, baby. Because I keep this right above me. I wish you could see it, but this is one big monitor, and then right above me is another same size monitor, and this is just right above me. So you can kind of picture it like that, but obviously a little bit more cleaner. So then I can kind of hold my cursor and see what it's saying. So like, they all agreed back. This is when they all agreed. So right when it bounced. Good job, guys. But yeah, you get the idea. That's a cool study. I like that one a lot. Just something to fiddle with if you so desire. This is my mission control grid. So I got my options here, my contracts, my news that I have linked to red, which is all my charts are red, obviously except for my oh shit, I forgot. I had like drew a rectangle to record on, and I cut off my active traders on either side of my screen. You can't see it, but to the right of my cursor right here, there's an active trader with a blue link. On the left side of my cursor here, there's an active trader with a yellow link. I'll send calls to one and puts to the other. But anywho, and yeah, just market breadth, fix. This is a McClellan oscillator, not mine. This is just Thinkorswim, but very cool study. Um, then you got the advanced search declines, and this is what I like to monitor here is lower lows. So it's like in the current moment, 124. All right, that's bearish, but not like super bearish. But is it making a lower low? That's when you know the market as a whole is moving lower. That's what you really go by. Higher highs, lower lows. As long as they're in like a trending territory, negative 20 isn't going to move the needle. Neither is plus 20. But once you get in this negative 100 range and it's making then it goes lower again, then, that can really help you with the trend. But that's pretty much it. We'll see what happens here. This could be a great little pullback entry, meaning the price inputs have gone down because we've gone up in price, possibly hit resistance. So we can maybe get back in those puts and aim for something like that. But TBD. 2 minutes back to green. It was on oversold, so that's cool. Let it warm back up a bit and then come back down. ADX flattened out a bit on this pop up. There's just data everywhere you look. Data. Just everywhere. But your job is to take it, formulate a plan, and move on it. There shouldn't ever be like, should I, shouldn't I? But some things are subjective. It like, yeah, we're at the bottom of the Keltner. Or ADX is 18 and not 20. I mean, there's always going to be slight variables, but is ADX climbing in 18 or is it dropping in 18? Is volume going up even though we're testing the bottom of the Keltner? So there's it's all a big picture, and you gotta slap it all together with your brush, and your mouse is your brush, and your portfolio is your canvas. I don't know. It doesn't even make sense. All right, lovely people. Love you all. Hope you have a fantastic day. Peace on earth.